Hi there, brother Marcos Luna. On the 10th of November 2013. I just wanted to base this video on a blog I'd written a while ago called The Terrorism Lie and Why We're Buying It. And at the time I was watching an episode of Question Time on the BBC. And I was completely shocked by the reaction of the audience, when the author Will Self was explaining how he didn't think that all the surveillance that we see completely increasing in our cities was necessary to keep us safe from terrorism. And the place went silent in disbelief that someone could have such an incredibly mad view, And then when the journalist, Louise Cooper, appealed to everyone's irrational fears by talking about how she didn't want her child to be killed by terrorists, the whole place erupted in applause. Okay, we have to get this straight. What do they even mean by terrorism? Now, I'm going to give you the definition in the Terrorism Act of 2000. It'll be a little boring, but stick with it, won't take long. Okay, Section 1, Number 1. In this act, terrorism means the use or threat of action where A. The action falls within subsection 2. B. The use or threat is designed to influence the government or an international governmental organisation, or to intimidate the public or a section of the public. And C. The use or threat is made for the purpose of advancing a political, religious, racial, or ideological cause. 2. The action falls within this subsection if it A. involves serious violence against a person, B. involves serious damage to property, C. endangers a person's life other than that of the person committing the action, D. creates a serious risk to the health or safety of the public or a section of the public, or E. is designed seriously to interfere with or seriously to disrupt an electronic system. 3. The use or threat of an action falling within subsection 2, which involves the use of firearms or explosives, is terrorism whether or not subsection 1b is satisfied. Okay, a little boring, I know, I get it, but now we've got the government's definition. So, if you read that and you listen to it and you think about it, it sounds an awful lot like the kind of behaviour that the British government has been engaging in for hundreds of years. But they don't have a British Ministry of Terrorism. They don't even use the word war. When the British government commits terrorist acts abroad, they're under the banner, the Ministry of Defence. Defending who? Exactly. Me or you from that Iraqi civilian who just wants to come over here with a bomb strapped to him? It's not just bullshit, but dangerous bullshit, and the British people are somehow buying it. You should be more worried about getting run over by the car when you go outside your house, and then, or even dying in some bizarre gardening accident than you should be of being a victim of a terrorist act. The fact that the government shoved this irrational fear down our throats seems a form of terrorism to me. The other problem to consider is that the British government might label the IRA as a dangerous terrorist group. But then they might call the Free Syrian Army brave rebels. I understand the differences in circumstances, obviously. And what it comes down to is just this perception, which is important. If someone can be perceived as a threat when they aren't, then that is very, very dangerous. It can lead to people falsely reporting someone to the security services, or even attacking someone because of the paranoia of terrorism put out by the mainstream media. Let's just illustrate this a little bit, okay? I was on a bus one time, this is years ago. It wasn't actually long after the 7/7 bombings in London, And I was sitting there and it was a hot day, and I remember there was an Asian guy and he got on with a backpack. He got on the bus and he sat down and he was sweating. And I could see people looking at each other and they were most likely thinking this guy might blow us up, And he was a few seats in front of me, but I could see what was going on, And then, guess what happened? The bus pulled up outside the college, and he got off. you know. The poor guy was probably freaking out about an exam he hadn't studied for, you know. I don't think he was planning to blow up the number 6. And there's the problem. What if there was some nutter on the bus who'd thought, well, I need to take this guy out before he takes us out, and had attacked him? And this is a fact that the fear of violence can often create violence, you know, which is a big problem in itself. Now, what we should mention is the fact that the British government are so completely arrogant, they feel as if they can commit atrocities at home and abroad, and they can tell themselves and everyone else that it needed to be done in the national interest, and that people were breaking international law, and that's why they did it, you know. Every time, like, you see a politician on television and he's asked if Tony Blair should be tried for war crimes, and I've heard it asked before, you know, they always talk about, be careful saying things like that, you know, as if it's completely unthinkable that a British Prime Minister could ever commit a war crime, or an American president for that matter. You know, it seems that only, like, Africans and dictators and things end up in The Hague, and like, it would be unbelievable, you know, surely not. That wasn't a crime, it was a mission to preserve freedom in the national interest while helping poor oppressed people in the country. This argument falls down completely when you look at the sheer mess which is always left behind for someone else to clean up, and funnily enough, the people that clean it up are usually British and American contractors. It's just a coincidence, I suppose. You know, and the thing is, if there weren't radicalised people in the country before Britain and America went in and destroyed it, you can bet your arse there will be when they leave the mess behind. So why do people swallow it? You know, why is there some weird consensus that terrorist cells all over Britain are just waiting to pounce at any moment, you know? Sadly, in my view, it's all down to the British people just passively believing the lies propagated by the mainstream media and not looking deeper into things and doing their own research. You could ask why the government would want us to be caught up in this lie, you know. I don't know. To divide and rule the population, to grab resources in the Middle East, to satisfy the financial needs of a military-industrial complex which is massive, or to have an excuse to set up a huge surveillance state. You know, because a worried population is much easier to manage. I think if we want to think about this, we have to go back to the words of Benjamin Franklin, because he summed it up better than anyone. And what he said was, he who gives up freedom for safety deserves neither. And he was absolutely right. Brother Marcos Luna, thanks for watching.